Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all my Dragon Ruler Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for the April 2024 ban list. We finally have all 4 of the Dragon Rulers off of the ban list. It's been a long time, but with a separate ban list for each dragon, we have all of them finally able to be used in a deck together again, being able to make use of the full power of the baby dragons to be able to special summon out these bigger level 7 dragons onto the field, to then be able to make use of the original playstyle that the deck was meant to do to go into different rank 7 plays, and also being able to make full use of the Dragon Rulers now with the different use of Link monsters in the extra deck as well. I'm definitely happy with the genericness of the dragon lineup we can use with the different Dragon Rulers. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters, finally, with each copy being at 1 of, with the new ban list. We can run 1 copy of each. Sadly, I don't know where I put my copy of Secret Rare Redox. I have a Secret Rare for all of them. I know there's a Redox somewhere, and I know as soon as this video is over, I'm going to find the Secret Rare copy of Redox. But all of these dragons, if it's in your hand or graveyard, you can banish a total of 2 wind and or dragon type, or fire, earth, or water, depending on the E-Dragon here, to special summon this card. And then during your opponent's end phase with Blaster, if this card is special summoned, return it to the hand. You also have the option for the return for all the other ones as well, but with each one also having an additional card effect as well, being able to have a banish for the search of a specific one, being able to add an earth, water, wind, or fire if it's banished as well, and then also with this card being able to have more of the options for the setup of being able to destroy a card with Blaster, being able to discard and add a dragon type monster from your deck to your hand with Tempest, and then being able to special summon a monster from your graveyard with your Redox, and then being able to discard Descend off of Title. They all have a separate effect, but they all share the initial special summon play and setup. So running a dragon lineup is the key to the different Dragon Rulers. So we also run 2 copies of Blaster or Burner, Dragon Ruler of Sparks, 2 copies of Lightning, Dragon Ruler of Drafts, 2 copies of Reactant, Dragon Ruler of Pebbles, and 2 copies of Stream, Dragon Ruler of Droplets. Each one of the baby dragons, you can discard it and 1 dragon type and or the specific attribute for each one of the baby dragon rulers to then special summon their respected dragon onto the field for whichever one that you used for the discard of your other dragon type. So running a good number of other dragon monsters is key in the deck, because not only are you grabbing a dragon ruler from the deck, you're also setting up, along with the baby dragon, 1 other dragon in the graveyard to be able to special summon if you have any of the other dragon rulers in your hand for you to use. They all have the same effect, except just needing the dragon monster or the specific attribute card, which we only run other dragon monsters in the deck to begin with, so then you can special summon the specific monster off of these cards. I run 2, so you can see more of an appearance for each one in your hand, and when I ran 3, it got a little cloggy, because once again, we only have 1 target for each of the bigger dragon rulers to summon out, so I feel 2 is the best number to make use of for the baby dragon rulers. I also run 2 copies of Mythic Tree Dragon. Once per turn, you can target 1 water dragon type monster you control. This card's level becomes the current level of that monster. So with this card, you can target your title, which is most of the time the play you want to go for, to be able to then make it a rank 7 monster on the field as well. You have an option for your rank 7 play is much easier with your Mythic Tree Dragon, but just 2 copies though. It can be used for the discard cost once again for special summoning out or banishing to summon out your dragon ruler monsters, but I feel it's all you need with this 1 level adjusted monster. And the same with our Mythic Water Dragon. If you control an Earth monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only summon Mythic Water Dragon once per turn. This card potentially opened up some rank 8 plays to use with Mythic Tree Dragon, but I'm not really running any rank 8 monsters in the extra deck. Most of the time, you want to go for just another special summon of a dragon resource on the field, because I find instead of rank 8 plays, just, Link dragon monsters being a lot more consistent to be able to summon out with these cards. And then for more special summon power, I also run 3 copies of Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. Just being able to special summon this card from your hand by banishing one face-up dragon monster you control. And then once per turn during your main phase, you can special summon one dragon monster from your hand or graveyard, except for Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. So just another way to grab dragon after dragon from the graveyard back to use, which is why I like the Xyz plays, because then you can just detach them off of the Xyz monster and then be able to summon them back onto the field. And with Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, you just need to banish one dragon from your field to be able to do so. I also run 2 copies of Arc Brave Dragon. If this card's special summoned from the graveyard, you can banish as many face-up spell traps your opponent controls as possible. If you do, this card gains 200 attack and defense for each card banished. And once per turn during the standby phase, if it was in the graveyard because it was sent there last turn, you can target one level 7 or 8 dragon monster in your graveyard, except for Arc Brave Dragon, and special summon it. So what I like about this card is you can discard it off of your E-Dragon card to then make use of that monster's effect, but also just being able to have more of a setup for that graveyard play to summon back another E-Dragon if it's then used on the field as an extra deck resource. And I also run, for the rest of the main deck monsters, 3 copies of Dragoonity Remus. It cannot be used as sync material except for the synchro summon of a Dragoonity monster, but is not really an important part of the deck because we're only using it for its search play in the deck, because this card can search out Dragon Ravine, so you can discard this card to add 1 Dragon Ravine from your deck to your hand. So then it really doesn't restrict you for the special summon, except for Dragon-type monsters, to be able to special summon this card from the graveyard, but that also is only for the restriction if you go for the Dragoonity play. Once again, Remus is only in the deck, so we can search out our next spell, which we're moving on from the monsters of the spell now, which is Dragon Ravine. This card just helps so much with setting up more and more dragons in the graveyard, because the biggest thing with the dragon rulers is they need those dragons to be able to banish, to be able to summon them out. You can get a good number of them with the baby dragons, but Dragon's Ravine just helps all the faster to be able to set up more and more dragons in your graveyard, including the dragon rulers themselves, which can special summon themselves from the graveyard as well. So Dragon Ravine just gives you easier access to the one-ofs if you don't have these specific babies to be able to summon out the needed dragon ruler also. Now, for some of the one-ofs for the spells, I run 1 copy of Return of the Dragon Lords, just a special summon for that dragon resource, but then once Return of the Dragon Lords is in the graveyard, it's another added protection play. On top of that, 1 Sacred Sword of 7 stars. I'm really hesitant to banish one of my dragon rulers since we only have 1 copy of each to do so. So most of the time, if I were to banish, I can go for Arc Brave Dragon, and if I really just need that draw power, then I'll, use the resource most of the time for the dragon ruler from the field for that draw also. But then I can also just add the cards back with cards like Burial from a Different Dimension, targeting up to 3 banished monsters, return them to the graveyard, so I can put the dragon rulers that I may have banished off of Sacred Sword of 7 stars with this card, and then just make use of them over again. The 1 copy of Dragon Shrine to send more dragon monsters along with Dragon Ravine to the graveyard, and the same with Foolish Burial, with the other spells that we run being more of a generic lineup, but 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent, just because we do have some plays that our opponent may try to, Ash Blossom, preventing our dragons from being sent to the graveyard to begin with. 1 Pot of Avarice to shuffle back some of the more useful cards if we have baby dragons to special summon out, and not so much of a, discard play. Avarice can help to shuffle back some more cards to grab for a special summon and draw power as well, with the last card being Call by the Grave, just another card to prevent our opponent's hand traps from stopping any of our other summons. For the traps, I run 3 copies of Dragon's Bind. Activate this card by targeting 1 dragon-type monster you control with 2,500 or less attack on the field, and then neither player can special summon monsters with attack equal to or less than the original attack of that monster. So this can work with Arc Brave Dragon on the field. It can work with our Tempest and Redox on the field, just more of a restriction card to utilize against our opponent's cards. And the last of the traps being 1 copy of Rivalry of Warlords. Each player can only control 1 type of monster, so if we're stuck into dragon plays, it's really not so much of a restriction. We still have a good number of other extra deck monsters to be able to go into, but can also stop a good number of cards that our opponent may try to do also. Moving on now to the extra deck. I know I really wanted Dracosac. It's just one of the original cards to be used in the Dragon Ruler deck. So I have 2 Big Eye here. I don't know where my copy of Dracosac went off to, but you can replace it for 1 copy of Big Eye. Dracosac does help with the token play just to set up more for our Link monsters that we can summon out in the extra deck, with Big Eye being able just to take our opponent's monster as a resource as well is a big play and one of the easier rank 7s to go into, with some of the other ones being Gaia Dragon, a dragon monster as well, to stop with any of our restrictions like Rivalry, 1 number 76, 6, along with 1 Dark Arm Dragon of Annihilation, and then also the 1 Typhoon and the 1 Zeus for being able to overlay on top of our other Xyz monsters, which is one thing we did not have with the original Dragon Ruler deck. For the Link monsters, the 1 copy of Heretic Seal of Heavenly Spheres, the 1 Triple Burst Dragon, the 1 IP Masquerena, the 1 SP Little Knight, the 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and for the bigger Link 4 monsters, the 1 copy of Borreload, the 1 Saryuja, and the 1 Apollosa. Like I said, a good variety of dragon monsters mixed in to make use of cards that may restrict us for our dragon plays, but still having some other powerhouse Link monsters to be able to go into with all the special summoning we can do, just sending the Dragon Rulers back to the graveyard to then be summoned again later. And as for some of the go-to plays, with the 4 dragons being back in power, the best play just comes down to what setup you can do, depending on the cards you open up in your hand, depending on the baby dragon ruler you may have. If you open up, the best scenario is if you get 1 of the baby dragons along with a non-corresponding E-dragon in your hand, and then from there you can have just 1 other random card, and with that, 2 random cards even, and then you just need 1 additional dragon monster to make use of the initial discard for your monster. You can then use the specific dragon ruler baby to then discard the other dragon off of your hand, being able to discard it in 1 other dragon type monster to special summon the specified dragon name. That's why the importance of the other dragon ruler in your hand, because then you have the 2 dragons in the graveyard to banish to summon out that second copy of the dragon ruler, which you can then use for either a Link 2 play with the 2 dragons, or the go for of an Xyz summon onto the field, because then with that play, you want to detach off the 1 E-dragon that wasn't summoned properly, so we summoned off the Dragon Ruler Blaster since we banished the 2, so we can discard the title to the graveyard using our Big Eye to then take that additional resource from our opponent's field as well, and then all we need from there is a potential normal summon of another monster to the field as well, because that additional normal summon can then be normal summoned out with our additional monster on the field, and then that can use 1 additional monster as a resource to send for another Link 2 monster from the extra deck. It could be either SP Little Knight, IP Masquerena. Then we have that additional monster of our opponents, which we then have the use, if need be, the Blaster as a banish, and the other dragon monster we normal summoned out to summon back onto the field the title Dragon Ruler of Waterfalls. And then from there we have our opponent's monster resource along with our own Link 2 we summoned out to then go into higher, bigger plays on the field. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, it's very awesome to have all of the Dragon Rulers back to use in a deck together. I was definitely excited when I saw title on the list, because I've been wanting to make this list for a while, utilizing all 4 of the Dragon Rulers with their baby counterparts once again. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.